Starting. Okay, cool. Here we go. Here we are. So, hey, this is Shradha. I'm in Ubud. I'm in my garden, and I'm talking to the lovely Becky Andrews. She's in Melbourne right now. Yeah, so we're going to be diving into one of my favorite subjects, which is, yeah, the Yoni, like also known as the vagina, and just the general sexual organs as well. How we're going to be diving into like the kind of issues that women are having around their sexuality and we're having with their sexual organs, and we're also going to be moving into solutions. And Beck's going to share with us some of her vast wisdom and insights and knowledge about this subject. She's a Chinese medicine practitioner, but she's not just any old Chinese medicine practitioner. She's like super fucking amazing. She really is. And and she also, she shares my fascination with feminine sexuality as a sexual woman and also as a therapist. And she has lots of amazing information from both Taoist Eastern perspectives and Western perspectives. And she has stuff to share about from the Western perspective, like new cutting edge knowledge, which to my joy but not amazement, because I can imagine actually confirms exactly what I've been discovering through my own personal work with women and their sexuality. And so we're going to kind of dance around this subject, and yeah, and we're hoping for it to be like a really informative but also fun dialogue for all the people who are here. So right now I just want to address all the people who are here. We've got a few already and probably more coming along, and some listening to this after the call. And so I just want to say thank you for showing up. Thank you for showing up for your yoni, for your body, for your sexual connection. And you know, as a sensual empowerment coach and as someone who works with women in reclaiming a really beautiful, empowering relationship to their sexuality, I can, and also through my own journey, I can really see that we are doing amazing work by showing up in this way. And our bodies are connected to everything. And so the work that we do on our own bodies and the work that we do in making friends with our bodies and reclaiming an incredible sexual experience, it's really directly in the world at large. And yeah, so it's important stuff. And so that's why we're here. And that's why I'm really glad that you've taken the time to tune in. And yeah, so welcome to all you guys, and welcome to Beck. We're just going to go to her in a sec. And first of all, I'd love if everyone on this call, there's 5 now, and there's more coming, we're all going to just like take a moment to tune in to our bodies. So wherever you are right now, I'd love for you to just kind of adjust your position a little bit and just make yourself a little bit more comfortable, and kind of begin to take a few breaths. And on those exhales, just letting out a little bit of a sigh. Just kind of like letting go of anything that's going on, any head stuff that's been happening or any activities or anything. Just letting that go with the out breath. And for the next couple of exhales, we're going to send our breath all the way down into our pelvic bowl. So taking a deep breath in. Exhaling all the way down to your pelvis. Feeling yourself like really land your awareness down there, because we want all of you welcome, all of you present here for this call. And we're going to do one more of those. Deep breath in. Awesome. Okay. So Beck, over to you. Let's meet you. So you're in Melbourne right now, yeah?
Yeah, so I'm based in Victoria, in Melbourne, and I'm so excited to be on this call tonight. You know, the work that you do, Shradha, is so important for women, because there's just this profound lack of education around the birthright of being in a female body. And, you know, in my experience, I've just seen so much pathology, and we'll get into what I've seen, but to have ways out of that, to have pathways out of that, and to be able to really understand your body and what it can feel and what it can experience. You're such a skillful facilitator of women in that regard. And so, yeah, I'm really pumped to be able to assist you on this little Yoni wake-up call journey, because I think it's what women really, really, are ready for, are ripe for, and born to experience, so it's just about anything that I can do to remove the obstacles for women being as embodied and as feeling as free and empowered in their body is, it's a total pleasure. So thank you for having me, and thank you. Hello to all of the ladies that are listening. I hope that you get a lot out of it tonight.
Yeah, and you touched on a biggie, like a really important point, which is that there isn't that much information out there, like that I can see, especially not in the mainstream. It's kind of a dearth of it in the mainstream. There is some, like, there seems to be like a resurgence of interest in the subject. Hallelujah. But yeah, we're kind of, in terms of like where sexuality and spirituality and health and the personal and the collective and all wrapped up into one experience, that download isn't really being given. And what I found through tapping into the aliveness in my own yoni is that this is really very connected on a much wider scale. It taps into something which is much bigger than us, and that's not something that I was ever shown how to access or even mentioned in any way. And so, like, next I'd love for us to go into like what prevents women from being able to access our birthright, to feel beautiful feelings, to feel sexual in a way that's very empowering and isn't necessarily about having sex or being desirable, and what prevents us from actually having a really healthy relationship to sexuality. So yeah, let's dive into that. Would you like to start by sharing what you've noticed from working with women with sexual issues, or like just general health issues?
Sure, yeah. So I've been practicing Chinese medicine for about 10 years, and the majority of my people that I see are women. So I've seen a lot of different stuff over time, but a lot of what comes in that I've noticed is, or that people come seeking help with, is there's a lot of low libido from fatigue. Ladies be tired, they're tired and stressed, and that really takes a big impact on their libido. I see a lot of women that have pain, pelvic floor pain on penetration, have had some trauma during birth and found the transition of motherhood taking a big hit on their libido and their intimacy. I see so much, like women feeling shame about their body, women having a lot of anxiety about sex because they feel like they're not going to get their needs met, and their sexual organs almost in a defensive kind of state. And also I see, also the more severe traumas that women can have on the kind of abuse spectrum, and to be able to provide a holistic therapeutic pathway out of that is, involving your sexuality is, that's a really, with what I've seen with some of the work that you've done with that has been really phenomenal. And I don't think that there's too much of that kind of holistic practice for any of those conditions for people to come out of it naturally, without taking medications or without having other invasive procedures. And that's another big one. Like, women have had a lot of invasive medical procedures that have left some numbness or pain or scar tissue, and that can be another thing that people suffer from. And there's more probably that have, of course there's more that I haven't covered just now, but I think that's
kind of enough, like, though, isn't it?
That's quite a bit. Yeah. It's good to get started.
Yeah. And I know from our conversations you've expressed that like most of the women that you come to, who come to you, have some kind of sexual issue going down. So that's
Well, I
like
think
really,
that
that's really showing up in women's bodies.
yeah, and it also shows up in pain in other parts of their body. You know, might be lower back pain, bowel issues, even. You know,
Yeah.
but I think it's in terms of there's not many places like in a health consult where you can really go there and bring your intimacy stuff, whether it's your relationship with your own body or if it's, and so I think that's also why I make a point to open up that space of, you know, your sexuality is an integral part of your overall well-being. And there's just been such a like, you know, a muzzle over all of that talk and discussion as a health professional, you know, with so you know, I always try to open it up so that they can be included. So because all of you, you know, should be welcome when you're being treated for your health, you know, and yeah. So
yeah,
so
and
if not everyone presents, I open it up so that they can, you know, they can explore if they want to.
Yeah, it's really an interesting one because it's like it's a place of obviously so much power and has a capacity to offer us so much connection and pleasure and aliveness. And so isn't it interesting, and I find it interesting, like a sign that like the education is not really out there, that a lot of people are having low libido, because really sexuality can be the thing that can actually, like, if we're using it consciously, if we're actually doing the kind of practices like I offer in the Yoni Wake-Up Call program, like where we're actually tapping into the sexual energy and moving, like waking it up with breath movement, like just natural movements. It's a way of actually like encouraging more energy. And then also, and I feel like another part of the kind of expanded view of sexuality, which you and I are really about, is about really involving our whole body in that. So it's like, I think another part of this is that for a lot of women, you know, it's become like down there. It's kind of being this kind of like at best like a separate place, or at worst like a really like an avoided place. And I see why that would be avoided if there is like, if there is memories and stuff that's held in there that life hasn't, you know, our culture hasn't really given us the space to work through those issues and talk about that issues. So it's been held in there, and so of course we don't want to go there because we're afraid. And so I feel like also like a lot of women are really afraid of their sexuality, and I feel like that's for a few different reasons. One of them being that there's you know, potentially trauma from you know, sexual abuse, or you know, even just subtle, like I know growing up in Australia as a woman was traumatic sexually, definitely. And so like there's an avoidance of feeling, but then I think there's also an avoidance, like there's a fear that, oh, if I become really sexual, I'm going to become really bright and big, and that's fucking scary, you know, like so I think there's so many different issues around this, you know, there's so many different ways that that this disconnect can happen. And then, you know, and I think this subject really moves into numbness, because this is like from the women that I encounter and work with, that this is like and it was also in my own experience that like numbness was like something that was a fact of my life without even really realizing it. Like I kind of knew that there was more, there must be more, but I didn't really know how to kind of access that. So I feel like that's something a lot of women experience. It's like either it's just something that's become kind of a hidden, locked away place, or it's something that you just haven't, you know, had a chance. You haven't been guided to kind of get in there and begin to get intimate with that terrain. And I'd love for you, and what I find really exciting about, you know, the information that you share, and we just recently taught an amazing workshop in Melbourne where Beck just kind of laid it all out, and it was really incredible. I love what you share about the nerve innervations of the yoni, and like basically, you know, you're explain very well how the yoni is, number one, designed to be responsive, and also that we have a possibility to rewire the yoni. So there's some really positive stuff in there about what you're sharing. I'd love for you to just like go into that and what you've learned and what you're noticing about that.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, first of all, I think what you're saying about the kind of collective story of this time of women for sure can really be held. A lot of the stuff that can be held as not even necessarily a personal experience, but just ideas that people have internalized about what a woman is, or what she can be, or how she can express herself, or what that means, and in society reflecting that back to her. So I think right now we're in a very dynamic time of starting to really examine that, and I think that's a very exciting time. But human history is vast, and there have been cultures and times which had a completely different view of female sexuality, and that's what I love to have when I discovered in Chinese medicine, and also within Tantra, there's these eras where they were cultivating sexual energy to heal the body. And when you're at university in Chinese medicine school, they tell you about these texts, but they don't actually extrapolate it. So it's been of how to heal your body. But for me, it was Mantak Chia who really brought that message to me of like, there is this way that you can heal your body with sexual energy. And so I'm really excited to hear that, neuroscience is starting to catch up with that, because, it's a highly under-examined area in science, and there's reasons for that. So, but yeah, so I guess in terms of the wiring of the yoni and female sexual body, it's really an area that's designed to feel. Like, there's so many nerve endings. Like, the clitoris alone has something like 15,000 nerve endings, and that's wiring in a very unique way in each woman. So they might wire to the G-spot, they might wire to the back of the vaginal canal, they might wire to the perineum, it might wire further up the female body, it might wire to your lower back, it might wire to a skin patch on the back of your neck. It's very, the sort of arousal map from a neurological perspective is unique in every person, and particularly in women. So you've got all of those neural innervations coming from the clitoris, and then you've got three major nerves that connect the female sexual body to the rest of the body, like the pelvic nerve, the pudendal nerve, the vagus nerve. And, there's some areas with hormonal receptors. There's a whole lot of microcirculation. There's a whole lot of blood flow that's possible. There's all these glands involved secreting fluids. So this area is designed to feel. And
so it's designed to feel, and it's also, what you're saying is that it's connected to the rest of your body as well. It's not like,
precisely.
It's not like, it's not a separate.
It's not isolated. It's not an island.
Yeah, it's not an island. And
No.
so therefore, when you activate and when you become more intimate with that space, which is actually like calling for attention, because why else would it have been made in such a way to be so sensitive, then you are actually like directly affecting and stimulating the entire body, and the health of the entire body.
Yes, you are. So a lot of this, this feeling is dependent upon blood flow and circulation. So practices that will increase your circulation will help increase your sensitivity. But your like your neural makeup is really dependent upon your history and your experiences. So nerves can be sensitized or desensitized depending on a lot of different factors. And
could you just say that again, because I think it's a really important sentence.
So
your vagina's nerves can be sent.
So your the neural innervations to your yoni, it's not fixed, it's responsive. So it's really dependent upon your experiences and your story. So your nerves are continually pruning themselves, so they're growing out to an area, and if it's not being used for a while, it gets snipped. Like, the body's quite efficient that way, and pathways that are repetitively used get stronger and louder in the body. So if you've got habitual patterns of stimulating yourself, or that might be really nice. You know, you might have these great particular type of orgasm that you've always had, and that's what you go for. When you're in an intimate situation, that neural pathway will be super loud and strong, but you might not be able to feel a whole bunch of other different sensations because the little networks are they're just sending like weaker messages because your attention hasn't been there and the stimulation hasn't been there. So the more that
your attention is actually becoming more deadened, yeah?
Yeah, it's getting pruned and the feedback is getting weaker. So yeah, to enable that sensitivity to come back, you really need the combination of the presence, awareness, or intention, as well as like a loving touch with diversity of that touch.
Creative, present touch, yeah?
Yeah. Yes. But they're just to going into it, why it could be numb or why it could be painful or any of the other different types of experiences is neglect is a big one. If that area of the body just simply hasn't been stimulated.
So if it becomes down there, it becomes an island that you don't go visit very often.
Yeah. Yeah, then there's not going to be as much neural feedback, in generally speaking. It's generally speaking. So habits, neglect, and also when you've been disassociating or you've been ignoring messages coming from your body. So that's more related to pain, I think. Like if you've had an experience where, say, you've been penetrated when you're not being fully aroused or you're not ready, and you've experienced some pain, but you kind of other parts of you are enjoying the experience, or your mind is still eager to continue the experience without.
Or you feel pressured to do so when you've never been guided to actually voice up.
Yeah, and that you have permission to actually just stop for a moment. So in that case, your body is sending you neural feedback and you're ignoring it. So if you do that continually over time, those messages will get weaker, or you can start to develop a numbness around it. And then the other big one is the defense mechanism, and I guess that's similar to the last example of your body's gone into defense because you're in a stressful situation, or whatever the reason may be that cause it, lack of trust, lack of arousal, lack of relaxation, and your body's, lack of safety, then your body's, in a defensive holding, and, you continue to stimulate yourself with that holding, then your body's going to kind of freeze up with that defense mechanism in a way. So they're kind of...
And it becomes a pattern. I just think it's really important to also just like... that can become a pattern. So that defensive expression that you just named, how that can, for many women, that can become something that is like the base level experience of the yoni. So instead of what's the other side of that? The other side of that is like the yoni, the cells of the yoni are alive, responsive. I know for myself that like the more I began to do the kinds of practices that I share, which are basically bringing presence, bringing breath, bringing aliveness, perhaps touch, but you don't even necessarily need to do touch, do you? You can you can totally activate your yoni with breath, sound, and movement, and these are like and
your mind.
And the mind, exactly. And these are the ancient tantric tools that have always been used in order to activate that sexual energy, because it was revered and because it was recognized as like, our most powerful life source, basically. And so I just wanted to highlight the difference between, like, one is like it's contracted. It's and there's usually really great reasons for that, as in like an experience that didn't feel honoring, or a traumatic experience, a sexual trauma experience. I know sexual trauma is so widespread, but I also like to highlight that there's so many different, like you said, there's a spectrum. And so it could be something that's very subtle, but it does still create this kind of armoring, this hardening and contracting. And then, once that, the worst thing about that, because the body's kind of into habits, isn't it, in a way, it likes to kind of move in that direction. Once it happens once, it can very easily happen again. And then the cells, like you're saying, like the nerves become deadened. And so you feel even less pull to go down there and listen, because you can't even hear anything. And then perhaps, you know, and then, like I said, then you might become like a bit scared about going there, or you might be like, I'm numb, I'm a freak. You know, I know a lot of women are like, there's something wrong with me, basically. Like, there's something wrong with me, and so I don't really know how to, you know, what to do about this. So I'll just kind of keep on going, and like in other parts of my life. And then meanwhile, there's a gap. You know, there's a lack of connection to something that's so important.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you were saying. I don't know where I jumped in, like where you're at, but go on.
Yeah, I think also just to add on to that I forgot to mention in the beginning, that a lot of women come in feeling like they're broken. You know, there's something broken. They don't work. You know, and no female body was, you know, designed incorrectly. You know, or you know, all of the mechanisms can work. You know, it's just about the right. And can be healed, yeah. And I think that's the main take home for that I would really like for people to land today, is that it's not a fixed sentence. Like, you're not, if you have had a difficult experience, and most likely you will have a difficult experience if you're going to live your life, you know, and life is long, hopefully, and you have a whole plethora of different experiences. Some of them are going to be really tough, and to be able to have the tools to move through them, so that it can continue to strengthen you and to open you, and you can use that experience as wisdom, you know, rather than shutting you down and closing you down and making you anxious and making you afraid
and feeling really separate and like alone in that.
Yeah, feeling really isolated. And I think that's what you touched on before with the contraction and the closing and the kind of guarding and the lockdown, is like, no wonder people are experiencing anxiety when they start to be confronted with an intimate situation again. And so the tendency is to check out, you know, so maybe that's through alcohol or something else, or you can just, you know, you just disassociate, you know. But I think like there's this old Taoist kind of adage, which, you know, was written in the old books, where they say qi follows the yi, and yi is translated as intention or awareness or presence. And I think the kind of new agey kind of interpretation is like energy flows where intention goes, or something like that. Yeah. But it really is reflected in the neuroplasticity. You know, it's like the first step, I think, in having you know, starting to neurally rewire your sexual body is to really open your awareness to its presence. You know, so to feel it, to start to get curious about it, and to clear a lot of the stuff that's accumulated in your heart mind, you know, through your story and through your experiences. So yeah, loving touch, having your awareness there will start to open up the microcirculation. It will start to get the little neural networks going, ooh, you know, there's lights on here, there's messages here. And having diverse, creative, and I recommend slow type of stimulation, if you're going for touch, is a kind of a good way to start. And I think a lot of the practices that you're going to introduce in the Yoni Wakeup call are really going to be, you know, really perfect for anybody who wants to kind of have a more articulate sexual response and to feel more connected, to explore what is possible for them as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, what I feel to kind of bring in is like, it's so much about like Yeah, I mean, actually, no, I'm just going to go back to, you know, what you said about bringing attention down. And like, it's like, sounds like a simple sentence, but like the effects of that is so massive. Like, I know for myself, when I actually like started to bring my awareness down into my pelvis, it's like my whole life changed, you know. And because it's all of a sudden there's this whole landscape of sensations and an aliveness that is constantly nourishing you. And you know, and because it's so easy in this kind of like modern consumerist fast-paced society to get stuck in the head and get stuck in doing, and then also have an experience of like something's kind of missing, and I'm tired, and I know that I want something, and I think pretty sure I want some more connection or something, but I don't know how to get it. And, you know, like bringing the awareness down into the yoni and beginning to like, you know, even just bringing the presence there. And then, you know, of course, from there, like practices just kind of draw your presence more deeply there and activate more, and begin to activate those nerves and begin to bring more blood circulation, which brings more energy flow, which brings more health, which brings more aliveness, which like taps into all the other parts of the body that the pelvis is linked up to. And this automatically brings a sense of aliveness and deep satisfaction. And I don't know where I was going with that, but I think that's a really good point.
I've got something to
just one more thing, and then I'll hand it over, because I just remembered what I thought of. Is that first is just bringing the attention, and then it's kind of like you go on a magic ride, you know, because like, you know, you were bang on as you were saying. It's about like bringing attention, but it's also about clearing the stuff that's in the way. And my experience is, and what I guide women through, and definitely what's going to happen in the Yoni Wake Up Call program, is that we bring attention, and then what was blocked shows itself. It comes up to the level of awareness, so that whatever was not felt before and whatever is holding pattern is blocking, rather than staying there and holding us back like constantly and sucking our life force, that can then begin to be dissolved into pure life force again. And so actually like just bringing presence is a massive thing, and then it starts like an ongoing embodied inquiry where like our body starts telling us what we need to do. And that's why you know, for me, I feel like this approach to feminine sexuality is so empowering, because once we actually there and present for it, our body's giving us the whole deal. Like we don't even like, you know, you need to get on the road, or you need to get on the path, you need to get some practices that you resonate with that get you into a deeper experience into your body, and then your body starts telling you exactly what you need to do, exactly what you need to release, how to release it, what you want, you know, all the information just starts. Once that connection is there, then all that information becomes freely given.
Yeah, boom, booyah. Yeah, that's shoo, yeah, totally. Yeah. Preach. But yeah, no, I think yeah, that's right on. And I think that a big way to sort of get there with the attention is to let go of the goal, man, woman. You know, like we're so often driven by goals and plans and strategy, and trying to think our way out of a situation, and kind of using that like internalizing the external world into what we think we should do or be or behave. And this practice to resensitize is really just like fucking dropping that, you know, like just let that go. And it will be strange, you know, in the beginning sometimes, to just actually take things slow with no goal in mind, you know, not trying to give yourself the type of experience that you usually do, but to just explore. And as you said, go on that magical mountain ride, magical ride, and yeah, for your own mind to be responsive to what your body and what your yoni is telling you, you know. So a lot of this, you know, before your sexual organs can be responsive to another person or even to yourself. You need to be responsive to them, you know, so you need to meet them, and you need to, you know, be with them and to listen to what the body intelligence has been trying to share with you. And stuff comes up when you feel safe, you know, like when you're ready, when your psyche is ready, when your heart is ready, when it's the right time for you, it will spontaneously organically come up. There's nothing that you need to force. There's nothing that you need to try to achieve with it. That it won't work if you try to achieve anything with it. It's not the mechanism for this type of thing. Like, you have to go in there with a very curious and explorative type of no goal mind, you know, minds. Put your mind into that place, and that's where the body will start to respond.
Absolutely. And like, that's, you know, that's essentially like what I offer in all my practices, like, and especially like coming together with other women to do that, or to do the tantric practices, because like it can be one thing to think, oh, I've got to kind of start, you know, I've got to start listening, but you know, we need to kind of like, there's something about having a group field for that, or a or a practice. Like it's such a good point. It's like we're dropping out of like A plus B equals C and I get orgasm kind of mentality, and we're moving into like absolute mystery. Like, what's this sensation feel like, and what is this sensation? And this one, you know, and they're changing, and some feel pleasurable and some feel difficult, and then behind the difficult is like a more pleasurable one and a deeper one. And it's like the other paradigm of logical, goal-orientated thinking. And at the same time, like, we have to kind of relearn to be in that, don't we? Like, it's like, and so guidance is necessary. So either like being with other women in a workshop where we're all doing it together, and then like the group energy just flows, and you get that held safe space, and also some direction to, you know, some practice to kind of do that. And then the tantra practices, like, they're so juicy and enjoyable, you know. So it's like so it's, you know, it's also kind of like, you know, when most people come to meditation in the beginning, like, it can be like, oh, like, what am I doing? And like just not an understanding of like why are you doing it, and what are you supposed to do? And then until you actually kind of get you understand it, and then it becomes like, you know, really a full experience. And the same thing with you getting in touch with your yoni. It's like, it's really good to have some kind of guidance and a practice that you are actually able to attach your mind to, and like a movement that's getting you out of your head. And it's like actually like holding your awareness, and you're enjoying it, and you're moving, you're sounding, and the energy's moving, and the blood's flowing, and then it all just kind of starts happening. So that's, you know, that's the kind of practices that I teach, where it's like, you know, activating that in a way that actually feels enjoyable. So I feel like that's a really big key thing for women. It's like, we like to flow, we like to feel juicy and yummy, and because we've gotten, you know, I know you see this and you agree with this, is like, because we've gotten so kind of like, you know, held back, and kind of from that, it's like that's where the rigidity comes from. And that's like when we get given permission to be feminine again, and it's really it's, most women just love it.
Yeah, they blossom. You know, I think that in my experience, whenever women get together, they learn so much from the other women that are there. You know, aside from that immense gift of the safety and the facilitation, and but just actually listening to other people's stories about what's, you know, what they've been going through. Often will, you know, there'll be chords that you resonate with, and it can really just dissolve that sense of being isolated, or that sense of being a freak, or, you know, or the shame around it. And so I think that's a truly magical thing, you know, when women come together to listen to each other and to share. And also, I think, just to speak to what you were saying about the kind of like the flow and the ease, it's like, this isn't like hard work. You know, like, on some level it can be hard work to confront what you might have been afraid of, or you might have been holding on to for a long time, or to just really see yourself. Sure, that can be hard sometimes, but it's actually just really lush, beautiful, easeful, blissful, relaxing practices to do for yourself. Like, it's a beautiful, beautiful rituals and time to be able to give yourself that that tap into that innate ability of your body, and given these kind of conditions to just heal. You know, it's
And when the blood flows and the energy flows, it feels beautiful, doesn't it? Like, it feels beautiful to feel alive. It feels beautiful to have a sense of connection to this aliveness inside you, huh?
And it feels like coming home, you know, to become really embodied. It's like to actually feel the breadth and the depth of your being when you do have access to your arousal and you do have access to your sensuality. It's a very, very satisfying way to live. And I think that you know, we're sort of in the consumeristic culture of self-gratification and instant gratification, and that stuff is just, you know, by nature not a deep satisfaction. And so I think that, you know, these practices can be easy, they can be super relaxing. Like, relaxation is the only technology that will actually allow your body to heal, so they have to be relaxing by design. And to be able to access your to access that state of living in your sensuality and living with ability to have arousal and deep states of arousal is it is a beautiful thing, you know, and to see the world from that perspective.
It's such a necessary thing. I wanted to just like go back to, actually, it's like kind of a fundamental thing about like just the principle of like when there's more energy flow inside the pelvis, you know, if you could talk a little bit how that relates to women's health issues, how that affects women's health issues.
Sure. Well, just to touch on it, because it is a bit of a bigger concept, and maybe another time we can talk about that. That, you know, the Chinese were really, you know, classical Chinese, they were really interested in longevity, and they were interested in vitality, and actually in the beginning they were studying if it's possible to be immortal, you know, so they're really looking for anti-aging medicine. And because they didn't have the same kind of you know, suppression of the feminine that maybe we've been coming out of, and there was a period in time where they were more open about exploring all these tissues and glands, and having deep reverence for the feminine, and seeing it as a pathway to divine enlightenment, and seeing it as also these tools as a way to for spiritual development and internal alchemy, they call it. So they were really looking at how can they, you know, generate more energy than you consume. And that's the opposite of what we're in now. We're just like, how can we consume as much as we can and get away with it physically, you know, until we burn out.
Something right now, like get a feeling.
And get it instant. Something
now.
And so, you know, because they kind of grew in power as they aged too, you know, maybe they have a different relationship to getting older, and but they're looking at how a lot of these practices about sort of replenishing your vital reserves rather than just using them as a resource that you can squander to get you through the stresses of your life. And so it has a flow-on effect to every tissue and organ and gland. When there's adrenal reserve, when there's an ovarian reserve, when there's you've had, you know, your body's been in a deep state of relaxation where it can go into growth, you know, goes into growth and repair, and everything, you know, it keeps itself in balance, keeps itself in homeostasis, keeps itself in harmony, and prevents the breakdown, you know. And it also keeps your hormones, keeps a hormone reserve up so that you stay, you know, you have an easier transition when through menopause, and that you feel more juicy and nourished and hormonally stable as you age. So
and if you could talk a little bit about stagnation as well, because I know that's a really key issue in women's health issues.
So what we see in Chinese medicine land is often either deficiency, which is, you know, what we've talked about, that kind of squandering or excessive demand versus your, you know, your reserve,
And being
and
being depleted.
depletion,
Yeah.
depletion, yeah, and then also stagnation. So I think that neglect can cause a lot of stagnation.
Yeah.
Just not being able to express what your body is designed to do can cause a lot of stagnation, you know. So even though you might not make the connection to how to experience your arousal, your body still might be experiencing arousal, and then it can get quite stagnated when there's no liberation of that energy through the body, you know.
And also, if you're not breathing down into your pelvis and you're not allowing the sexual energy to move freely through there and around your body, like obviously that would lead to stagnation, and that then leads to the kind of most women's health issues. Would you say that there's a direct relationship between the two?
Yeah, I think that, you know, improper breathing is a chronic condition that's like people are not expanding their full diaphragmatic potential, and that your pelvic floor is moving with your diaphragm, you know. So if you're not expanding even into your belly when you're breathing, how's your diaphragm of the pelvic floor even expanding with breath? And there's lots of pockets of you know, small blood vessels where it's just not moving through, you know. So toxicity builds up there, lack of materials don't get delivered there, and breath drives circulation throughout your whole being, and is extremely detoxifying, you know. So so to not get deep breath, and deep breath with movement obviously is going to drive that circulation even deeper, because you'll get the cardio, you know, aspect of it, as well as the, you know,
and just the kind of like the lubrication, and then sound as well. Like, you know, for me, like sound has been probably like the major gateway of my sexual awakening in a way, you know, or like it's been also a signal of my sexual awakening to see how easily sound can come now compared to the past, is like an expression of my sexual liberation in a way. And sound in all sorts of areas, just being vocal in life, like really feeling affected by life. And I think this is like, you know, the kind of such a key part of sexuality, is that it's when we feel sexually vibrant, we're actually like really responsive to everything. And just like, you can tell when someone's sexually alive and has kind of made friends with their sexuality and explored their sexuality and allows that, and has a personal relationship with their sexuality, because they're juicy, they're activated, they're dynamic, they're you know, whatever that looks for a person. And so and sorry, I just went off on a track there, but you like stagnation in sexual organs, I understand, is also kind of leads to a lot of the kind of like cysts and things like that. Yeah, like a lot of the kind of growths and stuff like that come from blood flow not moving through.
Yeah, there can be cysts, there can be blocked glands, there can be just pain. You know, a lot of stagnation presents as pain. So it's just pain. So it can still be a mix of deficiency and stagnation. Deficiency causes stagnation, you know. If you don't have enough blood, or you don't have enough of the hormones that you need or whatever, then that can cause a stagnation, as well as just having an abundant energy reserve and it just being blocked, you know. So it can be, you know, but sounding with the vibration, I mean, the womb space is it's a hollow organ, you know, so you're getting a reverberation like you would in a cave, you know, it within that. And then that's also, you know, vibration moves substance throughout your body. So as well as all just the psychosexual effects of being free to speak, to say your desires, your needs, you know, to be seen, to be heard, to be and I think, I don't know the science on it, but I'm sure, you know, like they're probably hitting some more of a primal place in your brain from making kind of all sorts of deep kind of sounds apart from just, you know, talking, and, you know, so you can really start to express what the tissue has been holding on to through a non-goal orientated sound. You know, it's like stuff just comes up and out, and it can be part of moving that stagnation. So the sound could move stagnation, and then whatever is moving you could cause the sound as it moves through its stagnation. Do you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And so, like, you know, we're moving towards wrapping it up, and, you know, I hopefully those who've heard the call have, like, heard two sides, like, one being the kind of issues that have been playing out, but also, like, the wide range of possibilities, and like it's essentially a really hopeful message, is it not? It's like, you know, we are able to rewire ourselves. We can do that. We can do that with simple tools like awareness of the subtle sensations in our pelvis, breath, deep breath that goes all the way down to actually nourish the pelvis. Sound, everyone can make sound. You just open your mouth, even if you have resistances and it makes you feel shy. Like, anyone can do it. Everyone's got that possibility. And movement, which is enjoyable. Women love to move their hips, even if they haven't been doing it for a while, you know. It's a bit clunky to begin with. Like, no, we love that. I really feel like our hips are made to move, you know. And so it's a hopeful message, like, that we have tools. And what I'm hearing from you, someone's trying to call me. I'm really going to try and turn that off. And what I'm also hearing is that, like, our body is open to rewiring. Like, we can be, like, from what I'm hearing from you, is like, we actually can transform our nerve structural makeup. Yeah.
Indeed. Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
So
yeah, boom. I think you really just nailed it in that. And yeah, and that's the main take home that I really want women to know, is that no matter what's happened to you, no matter you know, what might happen to you, that nothing is necessarily permanent in the body, that you can, of your own accord, in very enjoyable, gentle, relaxing ways, create the conditions in which your body will naturally heal itself, and that will have massive, like, impact on your psyche, on your heart, on your ability to bring somebody into that intimate space with you. And I really wish that for all women to be able to experience that kind of peace and acceptance of their themselves, and to accept their orgasmic potential, you know, to accept their ability to feel, and to allow that information to guide them in their life, and to really have that deep, satisfying experience in this life, you know.
Yeah. So, like, and it's a moment.
I hope that's been helpful for that.
Totally. Yeah. And I completely share that, and, you know, we're totally on that train together of, like, being in service to women, being able to reclaim this, like, really essential knowledge, which for me is, like, it's like kind of a moment to moment, like, it's a gift, being connected to your sexually moment to moment. You know, being in your body is a gift. It's like a, you know, it's like it's an incredible source of nourishment that, you know, if I think back to when I was not really in touch with my body, I feel it feels almost like it was almost empty, you know, like there were some things that I enjoyed in life, but now it's really a completely different reality, completely. And fascinating. Like, I think the combination, it's fascinating. It's also deeply fulfilling, like you said. And so that's why I created the Yoni Wakeup Call program, which is like my new offering that I'm launching tomorrow. And I'm probably going to, I'm running as a group process with the Feminine Rising Tribe. And everyone is, of course, completely welcome for this 28-day process. And so it's going to take you on a journey over 4 weeks, and there's like a morning practice, and then there's an evening practice. So the morning practices is these sorts of practices which are bringing more energy, awareness, and blood flow and aliveness to the yoni with breath, sound, and movement. So they're kind of juicy, yummy 15-20 minute practices to do in the morning. And then there's an evening meditation, which is has a different focus. And so over the 4 weeks, we change focus, so to expand awareness in different areas, to bring awareness to different parts of the body, also bringing awareness to different aspects of our sexual journey. And so it's a combination of like literally waking up and rewiring the body, but it's also like a personal exploration and healing journey of our relationship to our sexuality. And it's done as a group process, so I feel that's extremely important for women to it's so easy to feel that we're alone in our sexual issues, you know, like that's somehow the nature of shame, is that we feel like it's all about us and something's wrong with us. And so when we feel supported and we feel seen and we're sharing the journey, this creates the feeling of relaxation and safety that is like you mentioned, and which I absolutely agree, which is like the cornerstone, and it's like the backbone of feminine sexual experience, is this feeling of feeling safe. So I have every intention to hold a beautiful group space for women to do this deep work, which is also, you know, juicy and fun, you know, and also it's like a combination of like, you know, creating a really lovely experience with your own sexuality, but also like, you know, moving past your boundaries and becoming more free and expanding your kind of playing field a little bit in a way that feels that you're dictating, because it's all coming back to your own self-connection and that self-guidance. So that's very much building that self-connection and self-guidance is such a huge part of it. So anyone is interested in that, you can go to the yoniwakeupcall.com. We're starting on the 2nd of April, and there's going to be reruns of this program later down the line, but this is the first one. It's going to be potent, and I also feel like if any woman is feeling the need to do this kind of exploration, like, go for it. Don't put it off. You know, it's like there's all this energy and a beautiful experience that shouldn't be put off to wait later down the track. And it's only taking like, you know, 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the afternoon or more if you decide to spend more energy on it. So there's really no reason why not to go for it, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, so I'm super excited to be able to share this, because I'm so passionate about it for all these reasons that we've covered. And Beck is an amazing therapist. She really is. She really, really is. She's based in Melbourne, in Australia, and I would highly recommend that you would go to see her for anything that you might have got going on. And so she's Cloudgate Therapeutics is her company. And you can, the link details are just at the underneath the under the screen of what you're watching right now. And Beck, do you want to kind of like add to that at all?
Yeah, I think this Yoni wake up call is going to be pretty damn special. So thank you for creating that for all the ladies, and showing up for that yourself. So yeah, at the moment I've got a little promo going on at my work for a 30-minute free consult. So if you just felt like you just wanted to come in, and if you're locally based and want to have a chat about whether there's something that I can help you with, then that's a good time to do that. Doesn't involve a treatment, but you can book it through my website on the book online tab. And if anyone's in Melbourne and they want some help, then for sure, come on in. And I think I agree that don't put this stuff off. Like if something's coming up for you now, now is the time. You know, you're going to be okay. It's going to be okay you can get through this, and it makes like things that you felt have been insurmountable, that you've been holding on maybe for years. It's like, get some help for that shit, man, woman. You know, it's like there's help out there. Just get some help, and you'll be, you know, it can dissolve. It'll be okay. You know,
there's guidance available.
There's guidance available
and support and love for your journey.
Yeah. So I guess that's all that I've got to say. Apart from,
thanks, Beck. Oh, I wanted to also say that Beck writes a blog she writes some really interesting subjects around health, sexuality, and all sorts of things. So you can find that on her website. I also write a blog, and I'm writing more and more about like intimacy and relating, always talking about sexuality, like a new paradigm sexuality is like my complete you know, life path and offering. So if you want to find out more information, go to both of our websites, and there's so much more that you can dive into. So yeah, I hope that, Beck, thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, and for being you, and for being able to kind of funnel that knowledge in a way that's like, we get it, and it's enjoyable to listen to you. And you've got to, thank you so much. Thank you for so much for what you're doing and who you are. I love you. Mwah.
Love you too. Mwah.
So yeah, sending out love to all the women watching this now and watching later. We hope that you have found this useful, and you know, like, wherever you're at with your sexuality, there's always more to be discovered. And you know, how amazing is that? You know, I really feel like we have been gifted such a incredible, like, opportunity in this life, in a woman's body. Like, even though there's a lot of hard stuff as well that can go along with that, there's also this like unlimited supply potential that we can explore, and throughout our life. It doesn't stop. We don't get to a point where we stop growing and deepening into our body wisdom and our, you know, authentic sexuality and that authentic expression. So like, actually there's so much to be excited about, basically, and to explore. So I hope that's this call has kind of helped you to like widen your view, and also receive some of the more kind of practical information. And yeah, so we're sending you all so much love. Hope to see you at the Yoni Wake Up call, and if not, just hope that you're breathing into your body in a full, juicy way, and living this wisdom in your own unique way. Bye, everyone. Good night, Beck. See ya.
Bye-bye.